My sister-in-law stole my breast milk, then nearly ruined the freezer I needed for my baby. Now my mother-in-law says I'm cruel for locking it. I put the lock on the freezer last Sunday morning. It wasn't a cute little child safety latch. It was a heavy silver padlock with a key that stayed on the ring in my pocket. By noon, everyone in my husband's family knew about it. We were having lunch at our house because my husband Nate and I had started doing Sunday meals after our daughter, Lila, was born. His parents lived 10 minutes away. His brother Ryan and Ryan's wife Megan lived 20 minutes in the other direction. It was easier than dragging 2 babies across town every weekend. Or at least that was what I had told myself when we started. Megan was standing in my kitchen with a paper plate in one hand when she noticed it. The upright freezer was in the little laundry room off the kitchen. You could see it if the door was open, which it was because I had been carrying clean burp cloths to the dryer. The lock hung from the handles like it belonged there. Megan stopped talking in the middle of a sentence. "Is that a lock?" she asked. I looked at her. Yes, her face went pale so fast I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Carol, my mother-in-law, leaned around Megan to look. "Claire, why would you lock a freezer?" "Because I need to." "Need to," Carol repeated. "Honey, that is a little dramatic." Nate was outside with Ryan, trying to get the grill started while both babies screamed in competing rhythms. He had no idea what was happening yet. Megan looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. She was holding her son, Owen, against her chest. He was 6 weeks old then, small, red-faced, and always hungry. I should have said nothing. I should have shut the laundry room door and waited until later. But I had spent 2 nights counting bags of milk I had pumped while everyone else slept. I had spent an entire Saturday wondering if exhaustion had finally made me stupid enough to forget basic math. So I said, "Someone has been taking milk from it." Carol blinked. "Taking it." Megan's fingers tightened around Owen's blanket. "Not someone," I said. "Megan." The kitchen went completely quiet. My father-in-law, Frank, lowered his fork. Ryan came in through the back door at exactly the wrong moment, holding a bag of hamburger buns. Nate was right behind him with Lila strapped to his chest in a soft gray carrier. He looked at me, then at Megan, then at the freezer lock. "What happened?" he asked. Megan opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I could have told them all of it right there. The missing bags, the spreadsheet on my phone, the way I had followed her into the laundry room and seen my daughter's milk inside Megan's diaper bag. I could have told them she had looked at me with huge wet eyes and said she was only borrowing it. Instead I said, "We can talk later. I don't want to do this while the babies are here." Megan stared at me like I had slapped her. Carol was the first one to move. She put a hand on Megan's shoulder and said, "There has to be more to this. Megan would never hurt a baby." I didn't say she would, I said. But that was the problem. I didn't know anymore what she would do. Before either of us was pregnant, I would have told you Megan was annoying but harmless. She married Ryan 5 years ago. We were never close, but we could get through holidays without a fight. Then we got pregnant 3 weeks apart, and suddenly every conversation became a contest I hadn't agreed to enter. At my baby shower, Megan announced she had picked a name for her son before I had even opened half my gifts. She said it loudly, like the room had gathered to hear it. When I showed everyone the pale yellow nursery I had spent months putting together, she said she had almost chosen yellow too but decided it was too common. When I had a hard time sleeping in my 3rd trimester, she told Carol that I was lucky because she still had energy to work full-time and do prenatal yoga every morning. Carol laughed it off. "You two are just so different." I told myself that was true. I liked spreadsheets and takeout and quiet nights at home. Megan liked making everything look perfect. She posted weekly bump pictures with little chalkboard signs. She knew which stroller had the best reviews and which glass bottles were supposedly safest. She had an answer for every question before anyone asked it. I didn't hate her for it. I was tired. I was pregnant. I had enough things to care about without turning my sister-in-law into a villain in my head. Then the babies came. Lila was born first, after a long labor that left me feeling like I had been run over by a truck and then asked to host a dinner party. 3 weeks later, Owen was born by scheduled C-section. For the first few days, Megan kept telling everyone how relieved she was that she had planned everything. Then she stopped answering texts for a while. When we saw them at Carol's house, she looked exhausted. Her hair was pulled back in the same messy knot every time. Owen cried through most of dinner. Ryan would bounce him against his shoulder while Megan stared at her plate like she had forgotten how to use a fork. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't push. I had learned quickly that new mothers get a lot of advice they didn't ask for, usually from people who haven't slept in 3 hours and still think they know better than you. One Sunday, Carol asked if breastfeeding was going well. Megan's face tightened. "We're working on it. Formula is fine too," I said, because I genuinely meant it. Megan looked at me so sharply that I wished I had kept my mouth shut. "I know that," she said. "But Owen deserves the best." Nobody said anything after that. For me, breastfeeding had been hard at first too. Lila had trouble latching for a few days. I cried in the hospital bathroom because she was crying and I was crying and I thought that meant I was already failing her. A nurse helped us. Then my supply came in hard. Too hard. I was pumping after feeds just so I would stop hurting. By the time Lila was a month old, I had bags and bags of milk in the upright freezer. I labeled each one with the date and number of ounces. It wasn't because I was trying to be impressive. I was going back to work at the middle school in early fall, and I wanted a cushion. I wanted to know that if I got stuck in a meeting or had a bad day or my supply dipped, Lila would be okay. The freezer was my safety net. Megan knew about it because she had seen it. Everyone knew about it. Carol once joked that I had enough milk to open a coffee shop. I hated that joke, but I laughed because I didn't want to make things weird. The first time I thought a bag was missing, I blamed myself. I had pumped at 2 in the morning and stored 6 bags that week. On Sunday night, after everyone left, I opened the freezer to add 2 more. I thought there should have been 37 bags on the bottom shelf. There were 32. 5 bags was not a small number. It was enough for more than a day of bottles. But I had been awake in short pieces for a month. I was forgetting what day it was. I had put my phone in the pantry twice. Once I found a bottle of water in the bathroom cabinet, so I told myself I had counted wrong. The next week, I started writing everything down. Every bag I froze went into a note on my phone. Date, ounces, where I put it in the freezer. Every bottle Lila drank when Nate handled a night feed went into the same note. Sunday came. Ryan and Megan brought Owen over. Megan disappeared into the laundry room 3 times. Once she said she needed paper towels. Once she said she was looking for a clean spoon. The 3rd time she said Owen had spit up on her shirt and she needed to rinse it. I didn't follow her. I felt ridiculous even thinking about it. Monday morning, 6 bags were gone. I stood in the laundry room with the freezer door open and my phone in my hand. I counted the rows twice. Then I sat on top of the washing machine because my knees felt weak. When Nate came downstairs, I showed him the note. Maybe we used more than you think, he said carefully. I stared at him. I wrote it down. I know. I just mean, maybe one of the bags leaked or got tossed. 6 bags didn't leak? He rubbed the back of his neck. That was what he did when he was trying not to say the wrong thing. Do you think someone is taking it? He asked. I hated how crazy it sounded out loud. I don't know. He looked toward the kitchen. Nobody comes in here except family. Exactly. The following Sunday, I didn't let myself look at Megan all afternoon. I played with Lila on the floor. I asked Frank about the tomatoes in his garden. I did everything I could to act normal, while my stomach stayed tied in a hard little knot. Then Megan picked up her diaper bag and said she was going to the bathroom. She walked past the bathroom. I waited maybe 15 seconds. Then I stood up and told Nate I needed to check the dryer. The laundry room door was almost closed. I could hear plastic rustling inside. I pushed it open. Megan was crouched in front of the freezer. Her diaper bag was open beside her. Inside it, I could see 3 clear milk bags with my handwriting on them. For 1 second, neither of us moved. Then she grabbed for the bag and knocked one of the milk bags onto the tile. Claire, she said. I looked at the bag on the floor. It had Lila's name and the date on it. I had pumped it at 3:12 that morning while my daughter slept on my chest. What are you doing? I asked. Her whole face crumpled. It's not what it looks like. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because I had spent 2 weeks wondering if I was losing my mind, and now she was standing there with my milk in her bag. Then tell me what it looks like, I said. She started crying right away. Quiet at first, then harder. Owen won't take the formula, she said. Spits it up. He cries all night. I can't make enough, and every time I try to pump I barely get anything. I just needed a little help. You could have asked me. I was gonna pay you back. With what? She wiped at her face. When my supply got better. I stared at her. Megan, you took milk I pumped for my daughter. You took it from my house, out of my freezer, and you let me think I was too tired to count. That isn't borrowing. I knew you had so much, she whispered. You wouldn't even notice. I noticed. That was the part that hurt more than I expected, not the milk. Not even the money, though replacing freezer bags and pump parts was not cheap. It was that she had looked at my exhaustion and decided it was useful to her. I stepped aside and pointed at the door. Put every bag back, then go sit in the living room. Don't say anything to anyone until I decide what I want to do. She looked at me like she expected me to hug her. I didn't. That night, after everyone left, I counted the freezer again. I had lost 23 bags over 4 Sundays. Nate sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. I should have believed you, he said. You should have, he nodded. What do you want to do? I looked toward the laundry room. The freezer door was shut, but I could still picture Megan's hands inside it. First, I lock it. The next morning, I bought the padlock. I also texted Megan. I wrote, I will send you the contact information for a lactation consultant and a pediatric feeding clinic. I will not give you any milk unless we agree on it first, in writing, and you stop taking things from my home. Do not come over without asking. Do not go into the laundry room. Do not talk about Lila's feeding or care like you have a say in it. She responded almost immediately. I know. I'm sorry. I was desperate. Then, a minute later, please don't tell Ryan yet. He'll think I'm a terrible mother. I stared at that message for a long time. Finally, I wrote, you need to tell him yourself, by tomorrow night. If you don't, I will. She sent back a heart emoji. That made me angrier than if she had called me names. The next day, Ryan called Nate. I could hear him through the kitchen wall. His voice went from confused to shocked to so quiet I had to stop moving just to listen. When Nate hung up, he looked at me. She told him, he said. Didn't know. What did he say? He said he's coming by tomorrow. Alone Ryan came the next evening after work. He stood on our porch with both hands shoved into his jacket pockets. He looked exhausted in a way I hadn't noticed before. I'm sorry, he said as soon as I opened the door. I had no idea. I believe you, I said. He looked past me toward the laundry room. Is there enough milk left for Lila? That was the first thing he asked. It made something in my chest loosen a little. For now, I said. But that's not the point. I know. He swallowed. Megan told me Owen has been having trouble with feeds. She said she didn't tell me how bad because she didn't want me to worry. Did she take him to his doctor? Yes. They said he was gaining, just slowly. They told her to try a different formula and talk to a consultant. She told me it was all fine. I nodded. There it was. The thing under the thing. Megan had not stolen milk because nobody would help her. She had stolen it because asking for help meant admitting she wasn't doing everything perfectly. Ryan looked like he might cry. What can we do? I wanted to say that wasn't my job, and part of it wasn't, but Owen was a baby. He had done nothing except be born into a mess created by adults. She needs to go to the consultant, I said. She needs to be honest with the pediatrician, and she needs to stay out of my house unless I'm here. Okay, he said quickly. Okay. For a few days, it seemed like maybe that would be the end of it. Megan texted me a screenshot of an appointment confirmation. She said the consultant's name was Dana and that Ryan was taking time off work to go with her. She wrote that Owen had finally taken a bottle without screaming. She wrote that she was sorry again. I didn't forgive her, but I answered. Then Carol called me. She didn't start by asking how I was doing. She started with, "Think this lock has gone on long enough." I was sitting on the floor in Lila's room, folding tiny pajamas while Lila kicked at a crinkly giraffe toy beside me. "It's been 4 days," I said. "Megan made a mistake. She is a new mother. We all need grace." Grace would have been asking me for help. Carol sighed into the phone. "You have a huge supply, Claire. You know that Megan is struggling. It feels a little heartless to guard it like treasure." I looked at my daughter. "It is treasure," I said. "It's food I make for Lila." Carol was quiet for a beat. Then she said, "I don't like the way you're talking about my family." I almost said, "Lila is your family too." Instead I said, "Then don't talk about my freezer like it belongs to everyone." She hung up on me. The following Sunday was the lunch where Megan saw the lock and everything came out. After the kitchen went quiet, Nate took Lila upstairs for a nap. Ryan led Megan into the den. Carol followed them. Frank stayed at the table with me for a minute, staring at his hands. "You did the right thing," he said quietly. I looked at him. Frank almost never got involved in family fights. His version of emotional support was bringing extra rolls to dinner. "Carol doesn't think so. Carol hates a locked door," he said. "Always has." I didn't know what that meant, and he didn't explain. In the den, I could hear Megan crying. I heard Carol say, "She's trying to help." Then I heard Ryan say something too low to make out. When they came back, Megan's eyes were swollen. She looked at me but not directly at me. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know I violated your trust." I waited. "And I know I need to use formula if Owen needs it," she added. The way she said formula made it sound like a dirty word. "Or whatever his doctor recommends," I said. Carol frowned at me. Megan nodded. "Whatever his doctor recommends." For the rest of lunch, nobody talked about milk. We talked about the weather, the price of gas, a new restaurant near Ryan's office. It was all so painfully normal that I let myself believe we had crossed the worst part. Then I went upstairs to get Lila after her nap. Megan was standing outside the nursery door. She had one hand on the frame. She wasn't touching Lila. Lila was still asleep in her crib. But Megan was looking at her with an expression I couldn't read. "What are you doing?" I asked. She jumped. "I was just checking on her." "Why?" "Because she was making a noise." Lila was not making a noise. The baby monitor was clipped to my waistband. The room had been quiet. Megan pressed her lips together. Then she said, "I just think we need to stop acting like the babies are separate teams. They're cousins. We're all supposed to be helping each other." "They are not teams," I said. "And you do not get to walk into my daughter's room because you feel like it." Her eyes filled again. "I wasn't going to do anything." "Then don't." She walked past me without another word. That was the first time I felt afraid of her. Not terrified. Not yet. But afraid enough that I checked the freezer lock before I went to bed. For the next week, nothing happened. Megan went to the appointment with Dana. Ryan sent Nate a short update afterward. Owen was gaining weight. The pediatrician wanted them to keep trying a combination of things and come back for a check-in. Ryan sounded relieved in the message, but not happy exactly. More like someone who had been holding a heavy box for too long and finally set it down without knowing where to put it. Megan texted me twice. The first message said I went. Dana was nice. She didn't make me feel stupid. The second message said, "I know you probably hate me, but thank you for the name." I typed and erased 3 different replies. In the end, I wrote, "I'm glad Owen is getting help." That was all. That same night, Megan asked if we could meet at a coffee shop. I said no. A few minutes later, she texted Nate, "Please make her talk to me. She has to see I am not the person she thinks I am. I need to look at the freezer myself. I need to know Lila isn't going without because of me." Nate showed me the message. I told him to answer once Claire has said no. "Do not come to our house." Nate thought I was being too cold. He didn't say it exactly that way. Nate was not the kind of man who picked a fight when he could use 5 gentle words instead. "She's trying," he said one night while we washed bottles at the kitchen sink. "Trying what?" "To do better." I rinsed soap off a bottle nipple and set it on the drying rack. "She tried to do better after she got caught." "I know." "And she walked into Lila's room after I told her not to." He was quiet for a second. "I know that too. Then why do I feel like I'm the only one treating this like it matters?" Nate turned off the water. "You're not. I just don't want this to become something that breaks everybody forever." I looked at him. "Neither do I said. "But I am not going to pretend a broken family is worse than a broken boundary." He nodded slowly. The next Thursday, I was home alone with Lila when my phone buzzed at 11:48 in the morning. It was an alert from the little temperature monitor Nate had bought after I started freezing milk. The alert said the freezer door had been open for more than 5 minutes. At first, I thought it had to be a glitch. I was sitting on the couch with Lila asleep against my chest. I could see the laundry room from where I was sitting. The door was closed. The house was quiet. Then I heard the soft click of the side door opening. Every hair on my arms lifted. The side door led into the laundry room. We used it mostly to bring in groceries from the driveway. It had a keypad because Nate had installed one when I was pregnant and too tired to keep digging through my bag for keys. I had not heard anyone knock. Lila stirred against me. I held my breath until she settled again, then stood up as carefully as I could. The laundry room door was open an inch. I could hear someone breathing on the other side. "Hello," I called. There was a sharp little sound, like a plastic bag being dropped. Then Megan said, "It's me." My body went cold. I walked to the door and pushed it open. Megan was standing in front of the upright freezer. She was not touching the lock. The padlock was still looped through the handles, but the freezer door had been forced open a few inches against it, enough to make the alarm scream on my phone and send cold air rolling into the room. On the floor beside her was a screwdriver. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then I said, "What are you doing in my house?" She looked terrible. Her eyes were red. Her sweatshirt had a stain down the front. She had no diaper bag and no Owen. "I needed to talk to you. You could have used your phone. You don't answer. So you came into my house without permission and opened my freezer." "I didn't take anything." I looked at the screwdriver. "What is that for?" Her face changed. Not guilt exactly. More like she had been caught doing something she had already told herself was reasonable. "The lock was stuck," she said. I actually laughed then. A short, ugly sound. "The lock is supposed to be stuck." I just wanted to look. "Ate what?" She pressed both hands against her cheeks. "I wanted to see how much you had left." "Why?" "Because you keep acting like I took everything from you, and you still have all of this." She waved at the freezer. "You don't understand what it feels like to look at your baby and know your body isn't giving him what he needs." I shifted Lila higher against my shoulder. She was waking up now, making small, unhappy noises. "You are right," I said. "I don't know exactly how that feels, but I do know what it feels like to wake up in pain to pump milk for my child, then find out someone decided I had more than I deserved." Megan started crying. "I didn't mean to hurt Lila. You left the freezer open." She turned and saw the door for the first time. Her eyes widened. "I didn't realize. I was only here for a minute." I looked at my phone. The alert had been active for 11 minutes. "Get out," I said. "Claire, please. Get out of my house." She took one step toward me. I stepped back. That was enough. She stopped. "I don't want to fight," she whispered. "Then stop coming into my house." She picked up the screwdriver. For a horrible second, I thought she was going to put it in her pocket. Instead, she set it on top of the washing machine, walked past me, and let herself out the side door. I locked it behind her. Then I checked the freezer. The lock had scratches around it, fresh ones, deep enough that I could feel the rough metal with my fingertip. The door had been open long enough that the top row of bags was soft around the edges. Not warm, not ruined yet, but soft enough that I started shaking. I pushed the door shut, checked that the lock was secure, and called Nate. He answered on the second ring. "What's wrong?" I told him. I tried to keep my voice even, but by the time I got to the screwdriver, I was crying so hard I could barely get the words out. "I'm coming home," he said. "No, you're at work, Claire." "I'm coming home." He got there 25 minutes later. Lila had finally fallen asleep in her crib. I was still standing in the laundry room, staring at the freezer like it might move if I looked away. Nate checked the lock. His jaw tightened. "She did this." She said she just wanted to look. With a screwdriver, apparently. He went quiet. Then he pulled his phone out and opened the keypad app. The log showed Megan's old code had opened the side door at 11:37. She had been inside for 22 minutes. Her code still worked, he said. Why did she have a code? Because she watched the house when we were at the hospital. He looked sick. I forgot to delete it. I wanted to be mad at him, I did. But his face told me he was already blaming himself enough for both of us. He deleted every family code right there. Then he called Ryan. Ryan answered fast. Nate put the call on speaker. "Did Megan leave the house this morning?" Nate asked. There was a long pause. "She's not here," Ryan said. "She said she was going to Target." "Why?" Nate looked at me. I nodded. He told him. Ryan didn't say anything for so long that I thought the call had dropped. Finally, he said, "She's been saying she needs to talk to Claire. She said Claire won't listen." I thought she meant she wanted to apologize again. "She tried to pry open our freezer," Nate said. "I know, I heard you." "Then come get her," Nate said. His voice was not loud, but it was harder than I had ever heard it. "And tell her she is not allowed at our house, not for dinner. Not to pick something up, not because her feelings are hurt, nothing." Ryan sounded like he was crying by then. "Okay," he said, "okay." After Nate hung up, I sat on the floor beside the freezer. I hated that I was doing it. I hated that a metal box full of milk had become the center of my whole life. Nate sat down beside me. "I'm sorry," he said. "Don't apologize for her." "I'm apologizing because I kept hoping it was smaller than it was." That was honest. It hurt, but it was honest. "It isn't small anymore," I said. "No," he said, "it isn't." That afternoon, I photographed the scratches, the screwdriver, and the softened milk bags. I saved the keypad log and the temperature alert. Then I texted Megan one sentence. "Do not contact me directly. Communicate through Nate and Ryan until further notice." She responded before I could put my phone down. "You are making me sound dangerous." I didn't answer. Then another message came. I was desperate. "You have no idea what it is like to be scared your baby is hungry while everyone watches you fail." I still didn't answer. The third message was different. "Lila is lucky she has so many people who love her. I would never do anything to her." My stomach dropped. I read it again. Then I handed the phone to Nate. Why would she say that? He asked. I don't know, but I did know one thing. Nobody had accused her of doing anything to Lila. The next morning, Carol called Nate instead of me. He took the call in the backyard, but I could hear enough through the open kitchen window. Mom, stop. He said. No, I don't care if Megan was crying. She went into our house without permission. Carol said something I couldn't hear. No, this is not Claire being hormonal. Don't say that again. I stopped wiping the counter. Nate was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said, you don't get to decide that she should share milk. It isn't yours. Lila isn't yours. And our house definitely isn't yours. When he came back inside, he looked tired. She said we were humiliating Megan. He told me. She said Megan needs support, not punishment. Does she know about the screwdriver? Yes. She says Megan was probably trying to get the lock off so she could return something. I stared at him. Return what? I asked the same thing. That should have been ridiculous. It should have been the kind of excuse everyone could see through immediately. Instead, Carol kept making it worse by trying to make it softer. By Friday, she had started a family group chat called Family First. I knew because my phone began lighting up while I was nursing Lila in the rocking chair. Carol had written, we are going through a difficult time. Please remember that new mothers need compassion, not judgment. Frank responded with a thumbs up. Then Ryan wrote, please do not discuss this here. Megan wrote, I made one mistake, because I was afraid my son wasn't getting enough to eat. Claire has decided that means I am a thief and a danger to her child. My hands went cold. Before I could respond, she added, I loved Lila from the second I saw her. I have never wanted to replace anyone. I just thought we were family. Then Carol wrote, we all love both babies. Nobody should be keeping score. I looked down at Lila. She was half asleep, one tiny hand pressed against my shirt. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I opened the photo folder I had made. I attached the screenshot of my milk log. Then the picture of bags inside Megan's diaper bag from the day I caught her. Then the temperature alert, then the keypad log. Then the picture of the scratched lock and screwdriver. I wrote I did not call Megan dangerous. I said she stole milk, entered my home after being told not to, and tried to open a locked freezer while my baby was asleep in the next room. Those are facts. From now on, do not discuss me, Lila, or our home in this chat. Nobody answered for almost 10 minutes. Then Ryan wrote, I am leaving this group. Please do not contact Claire or Nate about this unless we ask you to. Megan didn't write anything. Carol left the group 2 minutes later. I thought that was the end of the public part. It wasn't. That evening, Ryan came over alone again. Nate met him on the porch while I stayed inside with Lila. I could see them through the front window. Ryan looked smaller somehow, like his jacket was too big for him. After a few minutes, Nate waved me out. Ryan had his phone in his hand. There are messages you need to see, he said. From Megan. He nodded. She handed me her phone after we fought last night, he said. She told me I could read it because she was tired of hiding things. That's how I found them. She wrote them to a friend from college. I don't know if she ever sent them, but they're in a draft folder. I didn't want to take the phone. I took it anyway. The first draft said Claire gets to be the good mom with the perfect supply and the perfect freezer, and everyone thinks I should be grateful she lets me sit near it. The next one said Owen deserves better than bottles from a can. If I could just get through the next few months, I could prove I can do this too. That was Megan's shame talking, not something Owen's doctor had told her. His doctor had never said formula was wrong. The plan was to use whatever safely helped him grow. Then there was one written after the lunch when Megan stood outside Lila's room. I don't know why Claire acts like Lila is only hers. I fed her before when I gave her a bottle at Carol's. She calmed down for me. Maybe she needs someone who isn't always stressed and counting everything. I felt like someone had poured ice water down my back. I remembered that day. It had been at Carol's house, 3 weeks before I noticed the first missing bags. Lila had been fussy after a long car ride. Megan had offered to hold her while I went to the bathroom. When I came back, Lila was asleep against Megan's shoulder with an empty bottle on the table. I had thanked her. Now I looked at Ryan. Did she give Lila one of my bottles? His face folded in on itself. I asked her. She said yes. She said it was your milk, so she didn't think it mattered. She didn't ask me. I know. What else did she do? Ryan looked at Nate, then back at me. She made a folder on her phone with pictures of Lila. Every picture was from a family dinner or one Carol had shared in the family chat after you brought Lila home. There were no pictures from any time Megan had Lila alone. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Why? She said she wanted to make a cousin album. His voice cracked. But there were notes under some of them, like when she napped, what bottle she took, what made her stop crying. Nate stepped closer to me. His hand found mine. Ryan, I said, and my voice sounded far away. Did she ever take Lila anywhere alone? No, not that I know of. She held her at family dinners. That's it, not that I know of. I hated those words. Ryan looked like he hated them too. She needs professional support, he said. And you need distance from her while she gets it. I'm not saying that so you forgive her. I kept reducing this to her being tired or embarrassed, and I missed the choices she was making. I handed the phone back. She still made choices, I said. I know. And she doesn't get access to my child while you figure out what is going on. I know. He said it again because there was nothing else he could say. That night, Nate and I changed the keypad code and added a small camera over the side door. We arranged for a locksmith to reinforce the side door hardware in the morning. We did not try to move a full upright freezer while it was dark and Lila was asleep. Neither of us talked much. The next day, Nate took time off work and Frank came over to help. After Nate tested the outlet and confirmed the temperature monitor was working in the locked basement storage room, they carefully moved the freezer downstairs and secured the storage room door with a new latch. At one point, Nate stood in the middle of the basement holding a box of frozen milk while I held the flashlight and checked the temperature display. "This is insane," he said quietly. "I know. I hate that you have to feel unsafe in our own house." I looked at the basement storage room door. The new lock was bigger than the old one. "I don't want to feel unsafe," I said. "I just want to know the door is closed when I close it." The following Monday, Ryan texted us that Megan had agreed to see a therapist who worked with new parents. He said Dana, the lactation consultant, had urged her to get support because feeding stress, shame, and the choices Megan had made all needed to be addressed. She had been clear that none of those feelings excused taking milk or crossing our boundaries. He said Megan was using the feeding plan from Owen's doctor. He said Owen had gained a few ounces. I was relieved for Owen. I was not relieved enough to let Megan back into my life. She still asked Ryan if I would meet her in person. I said no again. Then she sent Nate a message that said, "Please tell Claire I understand if she never forgives me. I just need her to know I am sorry I scared her." That was the first message she sent that sounded like it might be about me instead of her. Still, I didn't meet her. 2 weeks passed. The milk in the top row of the freezer had stayed cold enough. I threw away only 2 bags, which felt like a miracle and a loss at the same time. Every time I opened the basement door, I checked the lock before I looked at anything else. Lila got bigger. She smiled more. She found her feet and became obsessed with grabbing them during diaper changes. Those normal things saved me. They reminded me that the whole world had not become a laundry room full of alarms and locked doors. Then Dana called me. I almost didn't answer because I didn't recognize the number. But I did. "Claire, this is Dana Price. Megan gave me permission to speak with you briefly." I sat down at the kitchen table. "Is Owen okay?" "He's okay," she said. "He's being monitored by his pediatrician and his parents have a plan. I am not calling to discuss medical details." Megan asked if I would tell you that she has attended every appointment and has been honest about what happened. I didn't say anything. Dana continued carefully. "I told her that feeling overwhelmed or ashamed may need support, but it does not explain away taking someone's milk or entering their home. Support and accountability can exist at the same time." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Thank you," I said. "You don't need to thank me. You need to decide what boundaries make you feel safe. That is not my decision, and it is not Megan's." After we hung up, I sat there for a long time. I thought about Megan crying in the laundry room. I thought about the screwdriver. I thought about her standing outside Lila's nursery door, saying the babies weren't supposed to be separate teams. I understood more than I had before. I did not understand enough to trust her. That was a hard thing to accept. I had always thought understanding someone was supposed to soften everything. Sometimes it just made the line clearer. Carol called me that night. For a second, I considered letting it go to voicemail. Then I answered. "Hello," she sounded different. Smaller. "I owe you an apology," she said. I waited. I was so focused on Megan being scared that I didn't make room for the fact that you were scared too. I kept telling myself it was just milk because I didn't want to think my family could do something like that. I looked toward the basement door. "I was never just milk," I said. "I know that now. Do you?" There was a long silence. "Not as well as you do," she admitted. "But I am trying." It was not a perfect apology. Carol was not suddenly a different person. But it was the first time she had said she was wrong without adding a reason I should excuse her. "Thank you for saying it." I told her. She started to cry quietly. "Can I still see Lila?" she asked. "Yes," I said. But not at our house for now, and Megan cannot come." "Okay." That Sunday, Nate and I took Lila to the park to meet Carol and Frank. It was cold but sunny. Lila was bundled in a pink hat that kept sliding over one eye. Frank pushed her stroller in slow circles around the path while Carol walked beside me. She did not ask about the freezer. She did not call Lila her baby. When Lila got fussy, Carol held her arms out, then stopped. "My?" she asked. I looked at her for a second. "Yes," I said. It should not have felt like a huge thing. It did. 2 months later, Ryan asked if we would consider coming to a family session with Megan's therapist. He said the therapist had told Megan she could not demand forgiveness, but she could ask to take responsibility in a room where everyone felt safe. My first answer was no. Then I thought about the kind of story I wanted Lila to hear someday. Not a story where I ignored my instincts. Never that. But maybe a story where I protected her and still left a door open for someone who did the work to change. So I said I would go once. The therapist's office was in a low brick building near the library. There were soft chairs and a bowl of peppermints on the table. I hated the peppermint bowl immediately because it made the whole thing feel too ordinary. Megan was already there with Ryan. She looked different. Not magically better, just less polished. Her hair was down. She wore jeans and a plain blue sweater. Owen was not with them. When I sat down, she did not try to hug me. That mattered. The therapist introduced herself as Dr. Ellis. She said the point of the meeting was not to decide whether I should forgive Megan. It was to let Megan speak clearly about what she had done and let me say what I needed without being argued with. Megan nodded. Then, she looked at me. "I stole from you," she said. Her voice shook. I told myself it was borrowing because saying the real word made me feel disgusting. But it was stealing. "I watched you get tired and scared, and I made it easier for myself by telling myself you had enough." I didn't look away. "You did," I said. She nodded harder. "I came into your house after you told me not to. I tried to get into your freezer. I left it open. I scared you. And I acted like being embarrassed was worse than what I did to you. Ryan stared at the floor. Dr. Ellis said nothing. Megan swallowed. I was jealous of you, she continued. Not because you had more milk, not really. I was jealous because you looked like you knew what you were doing. You looked tired, but you were still calm with Lila. I wanted to feel like I could meet Owen's needs without being terrified all the time, and I started thinking I could get there if I could do everything you did. Be taking from me? I asked. Yes, she whispered. The room went quiet. Then I said the thing I had been carrying for months. You kept talking like Lila belonged to all of us. She doesn't. She is my daughter. You don't get to make yourself her mother because you feel bad about being Owen's. Megan covered her mouth with one hand. Tears ran down her face. I know, she said. I know that now. And you cannot be around her until I believe you know it when you're upset too, not just when you're sitting in this office. Okay. No coming to my house. No asking Carol for pictures. No posting about us. No comments about how I feed her. No offering to hold her unless I ask. Okay. And if any of that changes, we're done. Not temporarily. Done. Her face crumpled. But she nodded. Okay, she said again. It was not satisfying in the way people think apologies are supposed to be satisfying. Nobody clapped. Nobody hugged. I did not feel warm or healed. I felt tired. But I also felt like I had finally said the whole truth out loud. After the meeting, Nate and I went home and made pasta. Lila was in her high chair, smearing sauce into her eyebrows. Nate made her laugh by pretending the wooden spoon was a microphone. I watched them and thought, this is what I was protecting. Not a freezer. Not a number on a milk log. This. 3 months after that, Owen had grown round cheeks and a loud laugh. Ryan sent Nate a picture of him sitting in a high chair with sweet potato on his forehead. The caption said, he finally likes solids more than throwing them. I smiled when I saw it. Megan was still going to therapy. She had joined a new parent support group at the community center. Carol told me Megan had apologized to the family without asking anyone to take sides. I did not know every detail of her life anymore, and I was relieved about that. We saw them once at a park in late spring. It was not a big reunion. Nobody had planned matching outfits or taken pictures for social media. Ryan brought Owen to the playground. Nate and I brought Lila. Carol and Frank were there too, sitting on a bench with coffees. Megan stood near the picnic tables when we arrived. She did not walk toward us. She waited. Lila was almost crawling then. She pushed herself across the grass toward a dandelion and tried to eat it before I could stop her. Megan laughed softly. Then she looked at me. Can I sit over there? She asked, pointing to the far end of the blanket. I looked at the space, then at Lila, then back at Megan. Yes, I said. Over there is fine. She sat down exactly where I had pointed. She did not reach for Lila. She did not offer advice. When Owen started crying, she picked him up and walked away from our blanket to calm him. It was such a small thing, but I noticed. Later, when we were packing up, Megan came close enough for me to hear her without raising her voice. I'm still sorry, she said. I put Lila into her stroller. I know, I said. She nodded. She didn't ask me to say anything back. That was another small thing. The freezer lock is still in my basement. I don't carry the key in my pocket anymore. It stays on the hook above the washing machine, where Nate and I can both see it. The keypad code has changed. The side door camera is still there too. Maybe someday I will take the lock off. Maybe I won't. Either way, Lila will be fed. She will be safe. And no one in my family will ever again confuse access to my home, my body, or my daughter with love.